that child is still you. It's still there. You're forced to actually look inside of yourself and realize, oh, I've been suppressing this part of myself. Hi guys, it's Pao and welcome back to the My Best Self podcast where we become the best version of ourselves. Hi guys, so I did film this a few weeks ago, but I wanted to hop on really quick to just say I know that we all see what is happening in the world. I know we see the ICE rates. Obviously, I know a lot of my followers are Latinos just like me, and I just want to say that I stand with all of you guys. I am very heartbroken to see what is happening in the world. My heart is with everyone that is being affected by this in any way. I do have quite a bit of resources on my Instagram story highlights if you want to go look at those, if you haven't been informed. And I really recommend you all to inform yourself on what is happening and inform yourself on your rights. I just wanted to mention that before getting into the episode. And without further ado, let's get into it. Guys, I cannot believe that I'm literally sitting here filming this right now. It has been so long. I know that I did mention that I was going on a little break. I posted it on my Instagram and I posted it here on YouTube in the community tab. If you guys didn't know, then now you know why I was gone for so long. I did say I was going on a little break just because, the holidays and everything gets really busy and I wanted to give myself some time. But I didn't think I was going to give myself this much time. Like, girl, I was like, dang, am I ever coming back? Am I ever coming back to the podcast? No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, I was going to come back, but the weeks just kept passing and passing. And I'm also not even going to lie to you. I did not feel that inspired. I was just like, what do I do this episode on? What do I even talk about anymore? That is the feeling that I definitely did not like. And it kind of forced me to really evaluate where I want to take the podcast and how I want to go about everything. It really just had me sitting there like, okay, I love the podcast. I love being able to express myself, to connect with everybody in a much deeper way, and to really share things that I find truly valuable and advice that I think is going to help people truly, truly, truly further themselves and get ahead in life and in general and in becoming better people and feeling better and all of this. And I love that, and that's why I love the podcast, because it's the place where I can really just sit down and just spill and talk. But I did realize that I do not think it's sustainable for me to keep posting episodes every single week, just because my schedule is very packed. I do have a lot going on. I have a lot of travel coming up as well. So I don't want to overextend myself. I don't want to spread myself too thin. And I know I've talked about this on the podcast before. It's not good. I can't do it. I've done it before, just like burning myself out. And I just don't want to do that. And I don't want that for the podcast. Like, I want to come on here and be happy to be filming an episode. I want to come on here and feel inspired. I want to be able to plan out these episodes and feel truly happy about what I'm putting out there, even if that means there's going to be a little bit less episodes coming out. I really do think that quality is way better than quantity. So I did want to make that little announcement with the podcast moving forward. We're not going to have episodes every single week anymore. I will be posting on my other social medias where I post like every day if you guys do want to keep up with me on a more frequent basis. But with the podcast, I'm thinking maybe 1 or 2 episodes a month. I feel like that's a good point to be at. That's somewhere where I can feel a little bit less pressure and feel more inspired, and just I don't want to end up having this podcast and just resenting having to film and resenting having to edit and resenting just everything. Like, I want this to be a place where I can go to and really, like I said before, feel inspired. So, oh my gosh, I do talk with my hands a lot. I know some people have complained about that before, but guys, I feel like I can't express myself clearly if I'm not using my hands. I'm just very used to it growing up. That's how it has always been for me. I don't know. I'm just one of those people that speaks with their hands. Yeah, does that bother anyone? I'm like, does that really bother people, or was it just a hater trying to be a hater? Or is that like a common, like, you've been feeling like a little bothered by it too? I'm like, let me know. Speak up right now. Speak up right now. Okay, now getting that all out of the way. I know that was a really long intro, but today I want to talk to you since it is a new year. A lot of us have new goals. A lot of us are trying to step into our best versions, which is maybe why you're here. A lot of us also are trying to heal from our past, and that's why today's episode is all about healing your inner child. And listen, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a therapist. I don't claim to be one. Definitely, I'm not qualified to be one. I'm just going to be sharing my own personal experience with healing my inner child, what it did for me, how I even got to that point, and that's what we're going to talk about. So, the first point that I want to make, guys, is that it's really strange because it's like we grow up, but that person, that like younger person, is always still with us because that was us too. And it's like we didn't transform into this new person and like come out of our body and now we're in a new body and we're an adult and it's like a new life. No, like that younger version of us will always live within us. All of the past versions of us will always live within us. And that is the coolest thing ever. Like those past versions are somewhere in there. Those past versions are a part of you. So when we grow up, it's like when we don't take our time to actually heal and see what we went through in our childhood and situations that really did hurt us and affect us, especially in those formative years, it makes life a lot harder. It makes life a lot harder because that child is still inside of you. That child is still you. That child is still you. It's still there. It's just like time has passed. Obviously, you've gained new experience, you've gained new knowledge and all of that, but that child still lives inside of you. So, if you haven't taken the time to analyze and reflect and heal all of those parts, then that causes a lot of friction in our lives as adults or whatever age you're watching this. If you're maybe a teenager, as you grow, you will notice that it causes friction in your life. So in our childhood, we're literally like sponges. Like we are experiencing the world for the very first time, and we don't get to choose the circumstances that we experience the world under. We all we can do is live our life the way that we see life is being lived around us, and all we can really do is work with what we have. As a child, we don't have much of a choice. We don't have that free will to just get up and go do something or change your mind. Like you're a kid, you're learning. And so we are just constantly absorbing the world around us. And people's words stick with us, situations stick with us, things just stick with us a lot more because we're children. Like I said, this is our first experience. So when we have any type of trauma in our childhood, and trauma can look different for everyone, we all have different experiences in our childhood. Maybe you have some type of unresolved trauma with your parents, maybe abusive parents, maybe you have there's so many different types of traumas, right? There's so many situations that one may have been through. Even small situations can really cause you to see yourself differently as a child. For example, I'll give you a little example of this. I notice I love giving little examples, but it just helps everybody. I think it helps people picture things better, at least me. But I remember I was like 7 years old, guys. And I, at the time, trigger warning, by the way, for anybody that struggles with their body image, I was always a skinny kid. And at that time, I was drinking a lot of Pediasure and it was making me gain a little bit of weight. I honestly don't think, I've never been chubby. I think I gained maybe like 5 pounds or something. It was something slight, but I guess I gained a little bit of weight. And somebody in my family, a family member of mine, made a comment about, oh, you're fat. They called me fat. Guys, that stuck with me for the rest of my life. I'm not saying that it gives me issues now. I feel very confident in my body and I just like to take care of my body, but at that age, I literally remember like sitting down. I literally vividly remember this stuff. And I don't have the best memory. I'm not going to lie to you. So these little things will stick with you. So I remember sitting down and just looking at my thighs. And after that person made the comments, it's like I just always was like, they're too big. They're way too big. And I just started to feel all this shame around my body. And I would do ab workouts like just like randomly at home every single day. Anytime that I had like free time, I would be there like doing my ab workout, like on the couch, literally wherever I was. And like I said, that comment really stuck with me. So sometimes it's little things. And I'm not saying necessarily that that in specific is a trauma, but it can become a trauma. And there are many, many, many things that may have triggered you in your childhood that you maybe have suppressed or you haven't really looked at. So I realized the importance of this, I would say maybe 5 years ago. About 5 years ago is when I first discovered shadow work, which shadow work is basically inner healing work that you can do, that often involves just looking inwards, oftentimes writing things down, oftentimes journaling about it. So it's looking inwards into and asking, really digging deep and asking questions and figuring out certain things about yourself that maybe you've been suppressing and just things that we don't want to face. So sometimes our ego can be dangerous to us. Not every time. I've learned that sometimes you can use your ego to help you in life, but a lot of the times our ego wants us to believe that we are always right in situations. Like in our current life, for example. And our ego doesn't like to think of ourselves as like that we've ever been wounded or there's something maybe quote unquote wrong with us. Our ego wants us to always be right and wants us to be sometimes even perfect. But when we do this shadow work, it's like you're forced to see the things that you don't want to see. You're forced to deal with the emotions you don't want to deal with. You're forced to actually look inside of yourself and realize, oh, I've been suppressing this part of myself. Or, oh, I am still holding on to this from the past and I haven't let go. And I need to bring this to the surface because I suppress these emotions so deeply that they are causing harm in my life. So when you do that shadow work, it's like you dig really deeply into yourself. And then not only do you do that, but you integrate those parts of you that you're hiding away, you integrate them into yourself and you accept them. That's something that we really need to do, is accept those hurt part of ourselves. Instead of ignoring them or instead of feeling shame, you have to accept whatever it is that is coming up for you. First time I ever did shadow work, I don't remember the exact questions that I journaled about, but I just remember writing about how I hated the way that I was so quick to snap. I was so quick to snap at people. I was so quick to allow something to ruin my mood. And so I started to write about it. And then I started to get deeper and deeper and deeper. And then I started to remember parts of my childhood and reasons why I now was that way. And instead of just saying, well, it is what it is, like that's what it was and that's why I am the way I am, I started to take accountability. And that's when I realized, oh, okay, like there's this part of myself that is quickly ignited because that's what I saw in my childhood and that's what I think is normal, but it's not normal. So I'm starting to see it, I'm accepting it, but I'm also now at the point where I want to change it. I don't want to act like this isn't a thing. I don't want to act like this is something that I can just control, that I can just say, okay, well, I'm not doing this again and it's going to happen, because no, this is a behavior that is now a habit for me and it's deeply ingrained in me. So I started asking all of those questions and I just want you guys to think about really quick. Imagine how much you can learn about yourself if you actually start to ask questions about why you feel what you feel and actually really, really dig deep into it. The thing is, guys, I think we oftentimes go to other people for answers, but the only person that can really, really give you the answer for your life is yourself. Other people can be good kind of guides a little bit. They can kind of push you a little bit, but you have the inner compass. You have the information inside you, and you're the only one who can ask yourself these things and who can actually bring it to the surface. So that is your responsibility. That is your responsibility. If you want your life to change, if you want things to be better, if you want to feel better, you want to be in a better mood, you want to just live a better quality of life and be able to take control of yourself and hold yourself in a new way, you have to ask yourself these questions. You have to do this work, and it's not necessarily very easy. I am using a little bit of help from Google for these shadow work questions, but I'm going to give you guys a few examples just so that you can get your mind kind of rolling and just so you can kind of get an idea in case you're like, okay, like, well, what do I even ask? Like, what am I supposed to be asking? These are good. These are very good. This one is, what are my core childhood wounds? In what ways do I sabotage my happiness? What emotions do I consistently avoid feeling? How do I express anger or frustration unhealthily? What are my biggest fears and how do they prevent self love? Those are just a few examples. And when you start to answer those, and the thing is, you actually have to, like I said before, and I keep repeating it, but you have to really dig. You can't just say, oh, I don't like this, and like write a little sentence. You have to actually go in there with the purpose of, okay, like, let's be real right now. Let's be honest. Like, at one point, you get tired of just like suppressing things or not actually trying to fully know yourself in that way. So, those are good examples. And then I did also want to talk about that really, really helped me heal my inner child. And then something else that really, really helped me too was therapy. And I'm going to tell you my experience and what I learned in therapy when it came to healing my inner child. So, like I said before, I was like a firecracker. I would be easily triggered. There was a side of me that never really, I never wanted to accept that that was part of me because it wasn't like me at all, if that makes sense. It was like, it it was like I'm me and I'm this person and I have these beliefs about myself, like I'm a good person and I'm kind, I'm this and I'm that. But then there was this part of me that was literally like a firecracker that didn't care about anything, that was just so rude, so arrogant, all of these negative feelings, and I hated that. And when I talked to my therapist about it, and then we really talked about my whole childhood, we talked about a lot. That's when I found out, I realized that I had PTSD. I learned a lot about what was going on with me, and I realized it wasn't normal to be the way I was. And I also learned how to reparent myself. So when it comes to reparenting yourself, it's like you have to undo what was done and you have to try something new now. So how I did it was anytime that I was feeling frustrated in life, like just on a regular day, like let's say I went to therapy today and then the next day I had like this situation and I was freaking out or whatever. Anytime I felt frustrated or felt honestly anything, sadness, anger, whatever, any of those more negative emotions, I started to speak to myself and I started to talk to myself literally as if I were my parent, because this healed my inner child. This really did heal my inner child, and it allowed me to finally feel safe. It allowed me to feel safe with myself. It allowed me to feel heard and understood. Doing that made me feel so seen, so validated. And it's like finally the child inside me felt heard and felt like whatever I was feeling, it was okay. And it was all going to be okay. And I wasn't misunderstood and I was hearing and seeing myself. So I started doing that. I started to comfort myself. I'd be like, it's okay. Like, it's okay, pal. It's okay. Like, it's okay. You're okay. I understand you're frustrated. I understand you feel this way. You have every right to feel this way. And I just started to really see myself. And that really healed a lot of the times in my childhood where I never felt heard or seen. And that was all the time. Like at that time too, I was obviously, you guys, a lot of you may know I was going through a hard breakup. I would tell myself, you know what, it's okay. Like I would literally tell myself, sometimes I would even hug myself. My therapist recommended all this stuff to me, guys. And I really did start to heal. And it's like I started to change my brain patterns. And I, it really is like I went back in time and I was there with myself. Or even another thing you can do is like get into a meditative state, breathe in and out, for however long, maybe 5 minutes, get into that state where you're really calmed and relaxed, and then picture whatever situation was like triggering for you, that is obviously that you can handle picturing, right? Because I don't know, certain situations may be too extreme, but picture maybe you got bullied and it was really hard for you, right? Picture that, but picture yourself being there for you at that moment, or picture it happening differently and picture a more empowering situation that also really helps. But yeah, that is how I personally healed my childhood trauma, and it took a lot of trial and error, and there are different ways to heal, but I just wanted to share my story with you all so that you can feel inspired to maybe take those steps if you are dealing with that, or you know that there are unresolved things, unresolved situations that you're holding inside. I definitely recommend for you all to start that journey. And it is a journey, like I said, and I would be in therapy crying, and then afterwards I would be crying all day, and I would feel like this overwhelming of emotion and hurt and sadness. But it's like all of those things need to come out. I need to come out first thing. You need to let all of those emotions come out of you. And eventually you'll see that huge difference in yourself, and you'll realize why you took that time to heal yourself. Also remember that trauma stems from a lot of different situations. Only you know where yours is specifically coming from. And yeah, the work is hard, but it's so rewarding and so life-changing. So I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Thank you so much for listening. I will see you guys in not next week's episode, and the next episode. We don't know when it's going to be yet, probably in like 2 weeks maybe. But yeah, thank you for listening. I love you guys. I hope you have an amazing rest of your week, and I will see you next time. Bye.